with perhaps a few sprinkles or a couple patches of drizzle. But again, temperatures will be above the freezing mark, I think, for all hours, well, at least the hours that you would be up moving around on Wednesday. So no concerns with any icing, I don't believe, tomorrow. Temperatures across the country, not bad. Here's the Midwest look. We've got lower to mid 30s locally and out to the west, including Minneapolis, lower to mid 30s. Chicago O'Hare, by the way, got to 38 this past afternoon. I think they can make low to mid 40s tomorrow. So you get the idea. This atmosphere is pretty mild for the season. We're going to make our run into the upper 30s. I do believe, Derek, tomorrow afternoon. So gaining a handful of degrees just for tomorrow and Thursday may in fact hit 40 in GR. There's the look down towards the Indiana line. Very similar to the rest of us. A south or southwest breeze, about 5 to 10 miles per hour. It does have that little bit of a bite out there. So, you know, when you step out to take that dog for a walk here or go to the bathroom later on within the next hour or two, definitely have your winter coat because it is chilly. Wind chills are in the mid-20s. Wednesday planner. Derek, here we go. Sunrise 8:11, sunset at 5:31. We're going from 32 to 35 to 38. We'll take it on the 13th day of January. Could log a 40-degree temperature on Thursday. And then we've got a weak system by the weekend. We'll talk rain and snow prospects coming up.
All right, Anthony, look for that. Meanwhile, a company in Grand Rapids has 150 openings right now, and if you apply tomorrow, you could be working as early as next week. In fact, for the next 3 Wednesdays, Prologistics is holding an in-person job fair with masks, of course, for a wide range of warehouse jobs in Grand Rapids, from forklift drivers to kitting to pick, pack, and many others. The pay averages between $14 and $16.50 an hour. They are full-time permanent jobs. The market manager told us today they offer several perks like 401k. They pay for college courses and have room for advancement as well.
They can do one of two things. They can walk in anytime between 10 and 3 tomorrow. They just need to bring their IDs with them for their I-9 and plan on being here about 20 to 30 minutes. Or they can go online, fill out the application at www.prologistics.com. And then after that, they can schedule their own time, what works best for their schedule, and then they'll come in and meet with a recruiter tomorrow.
That is Prologistics with an X, and again, it's happening for at least the next 3 Wednesdays through the month of January. They're located at 3108 28th Street Southeast. Coming up here on Fox 17 News at 10 o'clock, this 10-year-old boy about to lose his legs due to a rare condition developed after contracting COVID.
It was really hard. It was really hard. I just think about, like, once it's done, like, how will his life be afterwards, you know? Like, he likes to play soccer, and he likes to do things, and it's hard.
And we are hearing from his mother about his fight, still to come tonight after the break. Plus, new information released just shows how far conspirators were prepared to go in the plot to kidnap Governor Whitmer, what the documents are unveiling.
We witnessed poverty like we had never seen it before, just from the living conditions to the way that the streets were littered with trash.
How Sisters from Rockford turned a life-changing trip into a mission to help the people of Haiti, coming up. And a reminder, you can get more news and weather from Fox 17 by downloading our app on your streaming device like Fire TV and Roku. We'll be right back. As the number of COVID cases around the U.S. approaches the 23 million mark today, the Trump administration announced plans to speed up the release of those vaccines. The Department of Health and Human Services will no longer hold back those second doses, which will nearly double the country's supply. The administration originally had those shots on reserve to ensure people receive their second dose in the proper time frame after getting their first dose. The move comes after a group of various state leaders, including Governor Whitmer, pressed the government to distribute the reserve doses to states that need them. As part of the accelerated rollout, the Health and Human Services Department also wants states to not have vaccinations centered at hospitals and allow for more channels of distribution into the communities. Meanwhile, look at where vaccinations stand right now in our state. According to the state's vaccine dashboard, they say more than 296,000 shots have been administered. Altogether, more than 831,000 have been distributed. Meanwhile, as far as cases, just under 2,000 additional confirmed this afternoon. That brings our total since the start of the pandemic to more than 525,000 cases of COVID. 100 new deaths also reported this afternoon. However, the state says about half of those are from a records review. To date, more than 13,000 people have died from COVID in Michigan. More than 415,000 have recovered. 10-year-old boy diagnosed with a rare condition after contracting COVID will have to lose his legs later this week. Angela McCall telling us about his case and what his mom wants other parents now to know.
A 10-year-old boy is recovering from MIS-C here at Helen DeVos Children's Hospital. It's a condition that is a result of COVID. Doctors have told his mother that he is the worst case that they've seen in the state, and he will need to have his legs amputated as a result of his condition.
He was having a hard time breathing. He was incontinent. He just wasn't himself.
That was after 10-year-old Deshaun Jameson had been infected with COVID-19.
And so I took his temperature and it was really high. So I knew something was wrong then, so I took him in.
Doctors soon told his mom, Brittany, he had a rare condition affecting children called MIS-C. He is one of just 21 patients who have been treated by Spectrum Health for the syndrome that can develop after a COVID infection. The exact cause is still unknown.
There's thought that there could be a genetic trigger, but we just don't know yet what that genetic trigger is or if it affects some populations more than others. We've seen MIS-C happen to children of all pediatric ages, races, and genders as well. So there's still quite a bit that we are learning about MIS-C.
Dr. Rosemary Olivero says parents should watch for warning signs like a fever, redness in the eyes, any type of rash and vomiting or diarrhea. Deshaun had developed many of those symptoms, which had continued to get worse while in the hospital.
They say don't question God, but I don't understand why my son. I wouldn't want it to happen to anybody else's child, but why me?
Doctors plan to amputate both of his legs, telling his mom he has no feeling or movement in them any longer.
It was really hard. It was really hard. I just think about, like, once it's done, like, how would his life be afterwards, you know? Like, he likes to play soccer and he likes to do things, and it's hard.
Doctors are optimistic Deshaun will recover, and his mom is hopeful he will one day gain the same level of independence he had before.
Him to be walking again with prosthetics. That's the goal. Other than that, they're just taking it day by day to see how he does.
If you would like to donate to the family's GoFundMe page, we have a link at our website, fox17online.com. Reporting in Grand Rapids, Angeline McCall, Fox 17 News.
Heartbreaking indeed. Thank you, Angeline. The Lansing mayor has requested that Governor Whitmer activate the National Guard in preparation for scheduled protests at the Capitol this week. And Lansing Mayor Andy Shore says the Guard will help Lansing police if there's a violent disturbance in the downtown area around the Capitol. In a statement, the mayor says that while he believes in the right to protest, it doesn't mean anyone has the right to incite violence or destruction. This comes after the FBI warned of possible armed protests across the country, and less than a year, of course, after armed protesters entered the state capitol in Lansing. Today, we also learned charges are expected for former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder and other members of his administration in connection to the Flint water crisis. Attorneys for some of the people involved are now defending their clients after the Associated Press broke that story just this afternoon. Fox 17's Marisa Oberle reports.
New charges pending in the Flint water crisis. The Associated Press reporting Tuesday at least 9 ex-state officials, including former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder and his state health director, Nick Lyon, have been notified they'll face charges following a new investigation and a decision by a grand jury. The nature of the charges has not been made public just yet. In a statement, Snyder's attorney denies knowing of any charges, saying it's quote unquote outrageous, instead calling this politically motivated, adding quote, rather than following the evidence to find the truth, the Office of Special Counsel appears to be targeting former Governor Snyder.
Is absolutely and totally outrageous.
Randall Levine represents Richard Baird, a Flint native who advised Snyder during the emergency. Levine's argument is similar to Snyder's attorney. He says he learned of the forthcoming charges Monday, but does not know what specifically his client is accused of.
I have reviewed thousands of pages of documents. This man has done absolutely nothing wrong, and I expect once all the evidence is known, he will be vindicated.
In 2019, the state dropped criminal charges against 8 people, including Lyon, saying all available evidence was not pursued by a previous team of prosecutors. Lyon's attorney also told Fox 17 he does not know of any charges, writing in a statement, quote, if there is any truth to the reports, it would be an absolute travesty of justice. This all started in 2014 when the city switched its water source to the Flint River. Lead contaminated that water and was blamed for a deadly outbreak of Legionnaire's disease during that time. Attorneys representing those residents said, while we can never undo the injustice that occurred, those responsible, including Governor Snyder and those he appointed to oversee the needs of Flint residents, should be held accountable. Marisa Oberle, Fox 17 News.
Well, the AG's office declined to comment on the investigation and forthcoming charges, but says they are working diligently. The AP says the charges are expected to be announced Thursday of this week. Well, after visiting Haiti after the devastating earthquake that rocked that island 11 years ago, two sisters were inspired to help.
You impact one person's life, but then they're impacting at least 10 other lives just by either their purchases or who they're providing for.
How shopping at this special boutique in Rockford is helping the lives of families all the way in the Caribbean.
Derek, a mini roller coaster, and I mean a mini one by the standards of January. Here we are above normal. Could be near 40 the next couple days and then sliding back to closer to normal by the back half of the weekend, early next week. Could we have some snow that sticks? It's possible. Forecast coming up.
honestly really know much about Haiti until I went.
Correct.
And I mean, I knew about the earthquake and things like that, but I didn't really understand anything about Haiti.
Yeah. Now, 11 years after that devastating earthquake rocked the island, two sisters in West Michigan have fashioned a way to help families prosper and stay together in Haiti. Fox 17's Janice Allen joining us live now to explain exactly what they are doing. Janice.
Right. Derek, Grace and Stacy Connell are busy moms. They have 6 kids each, but they are making the time to help parents a world away in Haiti by creating work for them right here in West Michigan.
We were clueless and correct. It changed our lives.
A mission trip to Haiti in 2017, leaving Stacy Connell and her sister-in-law Grace with a new mission.
We witnessed poverty like we had never seen it before. Just from the living conditions to the way that the streets were littered with trash.
It was so stinking sad, and it just really broke our hearts for these people.
After spending a week in the Caribbean country, they returned home ready to do more to help.
One day we were like, we have this on our hearts. The next day we were like, okay, we're all in. And so that's when Espoir was born.
And it came together within weeks. A boutique in Rockford they called Espoir, or Hope in Haitian Creole. It's a volunteer-run store selling handmade items from recycled and repurposed goods made by Haitians to benefit Haitians.
We sell a lot, mostly for women and children's kind of stuff. So everything from bags to jewelry to little dolls,
metal art, ornaments. During the winter months, we get to sell some really cool metal art that's made out of like the old oil drums that are shipped to Haiti.
Espoir partners with several organizations in Haiti to create jobs, paying hardworking parents so their families can stay together.
It's teaching them a skill and equipping them with what they need to be able to produce the products and then send them back to the States.
Every artisan is paid before the products are even sold. They're paid no matter what is sold up here in the United States. They get wages for work.
So far, they've raised tens of thousands of dollars and have helped more than 100 people directly, although the indirect impact is much more than that.
You impact one person's life, but then they're impacting at least 10 other lives just by either their purchases or who they're providing for.
The sisters also educating about ethical fashion and say shoppers have welcomed the culture.
Support in ways we never would have guessed at all. But people literally have come from all over the place, walked in our store and been like, we want to support you.
Mm-hmm. Helping Haiti while also giving these busy moms a chance to do what they love.
I have a passion for women and she has a passion for kids. So it really worked out on a different kind of level. We have different passions, but we ended up bringing them together doing this.
And the sisters say they do plan to close down that storefront soon and switch to an online store. That is partly due to the pandemic, but they say the mission will stay the same. And they also tell me they would love to go back to Haiti one day soon when they can. To learn more about Espoir Boutique or to support the cause, you can look for this story on our website or our mobile app. Derek, back to you.
Cause indeed. Thanks, Janice. Still to come tonight, the evidence against the men accused of the plot to kidnap Governor Whitmer unsealed. The videos, maps, and pictures and other evidence that led up to their arrest. Still to come.
33 degrees at 10:27 on January 12th. That is not too bad. And we've got a shot to hit 40 over the next couple days. We'll detail that. And a little bit of a cooler pattern by the weekend that could yield some snow. Details after the break.
It's certainly not the news that restaurants and bars wanted to hear, but it looks like the in-person dining ban will be extended for a couple more weeks. Fox 17's Ryan Cummings has reaction to the announcement that's expected tomorrow. Ryan?
Derek, the ban was set to expire this Friday, but it may just be bumped again. At a time, of course, as you mentioned, when restaurants and bars could really use the money, they may likely have to wait on opening again for another 2 weeks.
Our number one priority, and please share this, is to get us open.
Scott Ellis is executive director of the Michigan Licensed Beverage Association. Tuesday afternoon, the group posted this notice to its Facebook page, and it's already had several hundred shares, saying we've talked to the governor's office and the reopening of bars and restaurants would likely take place beginning February 1st.
So we keep saying the numbers are dropping. We need to get reopened. Our members have been doing this safely. We still argue that we disagree with that bars and restaurants are the problem, right? We've said that from day one. The numbers have not supported that.
The reopening would likely include curfews and limited capacity guidelines and safety measures like social distancing and PPE, something Ellis says bars and restaurants have been doing for months.
My initial response was, I can't believe this is happening. We thought we were going to be there. My members thought we were going to be there. What are we going to do?
That gives us the most anxiety is not knowing.
Chef Jenna Archidiacono runs Amore in Comstock Park. She calls the entire situation a dumpster fire.
So what happens is the fire goes out, but then it comes back on, and we actually aren't getting communicated quickly enough to what's going to happen. So we're like, we're just like standing on the edge waiting. And that's the hardest part for us.
Her first shutdown came in March, meaning no St. Patrick's Day crowd. Then they reopened in the summer for a bit, only to be shut down before the holidays. Businesses have not been told for sure what to expect yet, so they can't really prepare. Reopening at 50% is good news for some, but it can be costly.
50% is not awesome for us. It's awesome for the customer, but for us, it's double the work, double the money for us to spend at half of the profit because we still have to pay 100% of our bills.
Bars are also hurting. Project Barfly owns Hopcat, GR Brewing Company, and Stella's Lounge in Grand Rapids. Sean Blanc is VP of Operations.
In all of our meetings, it comes up several times that, only if we had a set date where we could just plan around it. So that's kind of why we just set our own.
His company has been planning everything around a moving target because the dates keep changing, which is almost impossible from a staffing and supply chain standpoint. Now they at least have a couple more weeks.
Staffing's the number one. So be able to properly write our schedules and staff our team members so they can make sure everybody's ready to come back to work on time.
Getting people back to work and customers back in the door so local companies can stay afloat and do what they love to do best.
You can't let us die. We are the creative, fun heart and soul of what makes Grand Rapids great.
Now, Ellis expects that Governor Whitmer will be making the announcement tomorrow during her press conference, where, of course, we are hoping to learn more about that extension. Reporting live in Grand Rapids, Ryan Cummings, Fox 17 News.
Thank you for that. Enbridge going against the state's demand to shut down Line 5 of the Straits of Mackinac. Back in November, the Whitmer administration revoked a 1953 easement after Governor Whitmer said they violated their terms, putting Lake Michigan and Lake Huron at risk. The easement allowed Enbridge to keep their dual pipelines at the bottom of the Straits, but Enbridge disagreed with the Whitmer administration in a letter today, saying the issues she raised have been fixed and Line 5 now meets easement requirements. We are finally getting a closer look at the evidence against the men arrested and charged last year for allegedly planning to kidnap the governor. Our Micah Martin spent the afternoon digging through those court transcripts of an October 13th hearing in federal court that was just unsealed.
Evidence unsealed in the case against several Michigan men charged in the alleged conspiracy to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
If this whole thing, starts to happen, I'm telling you what, dude, I'm taking out as many of those as I can.
We already knew about the group driving by the governor's summer lake house in a daytime trip to scope it out, taking these photos, but the new documents show that they also staged an extensive kidnapping dry run of sorts in September. The documents also reveal that a group member going by the name Mark decided to flip in June, eventually helping the FBI place an undercover agent into the group. That agent going by Red and selling himself as a demolitions expert. Undercover Red would take part in the September run, scoping out the underside of a bridge near the governor's lake house, telling the group it would take about $4,000 worth of explosives to knock it out. The group had allegedly made this map, planning to blow up the bridge to slow down any sort of police response after their kidnapping. Even reportedly scoping out a boat launch across from the lake house, planning to transport the kidnapped governor via boat at one point. That plan to raise $4,000 for the bridge explosives was also used to arrest most of the defendants as well. Undercover Agent Red telling the group he was coming through their area and needed them to pick out which types of explosives they wanted. That meetup, of course, leading to the suspect's arrest and stopping any potential plans. Michael Martin, Fox 17 News.
All right, switching gears, everybody. Let's get to work on this weather forecast. Pretty much picking up right now where we left off at the 6 o'clock show. And that means very cloudy across all sections of West Michigan. We're slowly but surely melting off more and more of our snowpack, but it's a slow process because these temperatures have been on the chilly side the last few days, hovering in the upper 20s to around 30 degrees. We are at our highest point right now. These are the high temperatures from this January 12th. And it took until that 9:53 observation from the airport here in GR to get to 33. And a lot of these locales hitting the peak temps for today just recently. So that's kind of interesting. I think we hold fairly steady into the overnight, and then we'll continue to make slow progress on Wednesday up to a high. I've got officially at 38, but there could be some sections, especially towards I-94, making a run at 40 degrees already for tomorrow. And what we do tomorrow, probably tack on a degree or so for the day on Thursday. Here's what the almanac says. 31 is where we should be for this time of year, so we weren't too far off that today. Average overnight low at 18. Our lows have been a bit above that, though, for the most part, going back the past 2 to 3 weeks due to all the clouds we've had around. So most lows in the upper 20s to around 30 degrees. And there you see the records, 57 and minus 14 for this 12th day of January. It could be much, much colder this time of year. We have been really getting lucky, as you know, through November, December, and this first half of January thus far. Will it continue, though? Most people presume that the other shoe has to drop and we're going to pay the price. Perhaps we will into February, but I don't see it quite yet through the next 7 days, maybe around day 10 to 14. That's when a consensus of modeling suggests perhaps it can start to get colder. But I'll tell you what, that gets pushed back farther and farther compared to what it looked like, say, a week or two ago. So I guess that's some good news. We're pushing back the coldest possibility of air, maybe closer to February. And then at that point, we're just waiting 28 days to get to meteorological spring. So we'll see how it shakes out. Winds out of the southwest or south at about 5 to 10, even 15 miles per hour, providing some wind chills, yes, down into the mid-20s. So it is pretty cool out there, and it does have that moist feel, that moist look off into the horizon. Visibilities, though, not too bad from the sensors, around 5 to 6 miles. So I'm not looking for any fog that's going to be causing problems early on Wednesday morning, but probably that hazy look at times. Mostly cloudy skies expected all day long. As I mentioned on the earlier shows, there is some chance through the day on Wednesday into Thursday. There could be a little bit of filtered or dimmed sun, but I wouldn't bet on it. I think we got a little bit better chance for it, marginally speaking, tomorrow and Thursday versus what we've had the last couple of days. And also notice the temperature, 38 degrees, so making some progress for the middle day of our work week. Here's the upper level pattern. Coolest air off into Canada. This is a mild pattern right now, but the next system will be riding across the northern tier of states. Here's actually where the upper level low is, going across northern Illinois into Wisconsin and lower Michigan by the time we get to Thursday and Friday. So this system is going to bring about some scattered rain and snow showers with time. More details on that in just a moment. But cooler air, yes, is going to start to take hold by the weekend, but not real cold air. I mean, I'm talking about highs near 30 degrees, and then through next work week, still some Pacific influence. That means no major Arctic outbreaks. I don't see through the next 7 to perhaps 10 days. It is thereafter that all bets are off. Perhaps there will be some colder air at that time. Pacific system over towards Washington and Oregon. That's the one that comes in later Thursday with some rain showers transitioning to snow showers. But look at the temperatures Friday and Saturday. They're not that cold. So accumulations, I think, are going to be pretty light through the weekend. Perhaps Sunday we may pick up an inch or two with a new disturbance. I'll talk more on this in the 11 o'clock show. Folks, we're going to be right back with Derek Francis after the break.